Today I'm really privileged to be here, and I would love this to be a very interactive session, just like the moderator said. We are going to learn together. I know we have very many farmers here. Others are experienced farmers, others are new farmers, and trust me, irrigation is the game changer for everything. You know, you may have been used to rudimentary farming methods, but sometimes you have to switch in some things in order to grow your farming business. Like he said, agriculture is a business. We now no longer plant or do agriculture for only home consumption. We now see it as business, and I'll be happy to help you learn about irrigation as much as I can. It won't stop here. I'll share my contacts. We shall keep interacting. And our consultancy services are really free of charge. So allow me kick off with this. And for the next 1 hour, we are going to be talking specifically irrigation. So I will not assume that we all know what irrigation is. It is simply watering of land by artificial methods to foster plant growth. So fostering plant growth is helping the crop grow in a way it should grow to give you the results that you anticipate, the results that you wish to get from your crop, provided you've done all the agronomic practices right. Okay, well, I'll just give you a brief background about Davis and Shatliff. Davis and Shatliff is a company that has been in existence for 78 years. I've personally worked at Davis and Shatliff for 4 years now. And we deal in different segments. Irrigation is one of them. Away from generators, water pumps, boreholes, swimming pool equipment, generators. But for today, our topic is specifically about irrigation. So we need to know what irrigation systems are available on our market and how can we embrace them. We need to know how can I gain from investing in irrigation. So there are very many different irrigation methods, like you'll be seeing in the next slides. And as a farmer, we need to know we have something called the capital expense. That is the amount you're inputting in this system. Then there is the operational cost. That is the amount you are using to run this system, and the whole result will be the harvest you're getting. So if you get the first two things wrong, it means your result will not, you may get a big harvest, but you have, like you were saying, you have maybe over-invested, or you have under-invested. Maybe you've bought a bigger system that is not suitable for the farm you have or for the crops you're going to grow. So which will affect your returns in the end. You have invested a lot. Yes, you have invested a lot, but in the end it is just tallying with how much you invested. We are now looking at having the result be much more than the capital expense and the operation cost combined. You can take me to the next slide. So the most common irrigation method that most people know, that have seen on media, on different shows, for people who have attended, we have sprinkler irrigation. So sprinkler irrigation is a landscape type of irrigation whereby you have a prime mover, which can be a pump, pumping from a given water source. A water source can be in different ways. It can be a borehole, it can be a river, it can be a stream, it can be a swamp, it can be a spring, provided the water is suitable for what? For irrigation. You can be able to use sprinkler irrigation, and sprinkler comes in very many different ways, like you'll be seeing. We have the micro sprinklers, we have the micro sprays, we have the rain guns, we have the center pivot for people doing commercial irrigation, because I'm anticipating So a typical sprinkler irrigation system contains of majorly like 5 parts. They can be petrol engine pumps. In this case, why I'm not going to focus more on borehole and borehole, I'm going to focus more on surface water. I anticipate that's what most of us have. We have springs, we have swamps, we have rivers, streams. For borehole, maybe something not you would not think of drilling a borehole to do sprinkler irrigation. It's a bit stretched. It's a bit something that may not apply for a small-scale farmer. So, provided you have surface water, let's call it a river in this case, you will need an engine pump, which I said it can be diesel or petrol. I'll tell you the advantages of the two and the disadvantages as well. So, most farmers would go for petrol pumps. Most petrol pumps are well priced. They are cheaper compared to diesel. And from experience, most farmers give me reasons why they would prefer diesel pumps. The most fascinating reason is some of them don't be at the farm. Maybe they have people who are operating for them. So they say, when I buy a 20-liter diesel engine, diesel fuel, I can keep it and I know it will be for operating that machine only. Compared to petrol, I think there is some bit of trustworthy. Some people may put it in their motorcycles, but it is very hard to find someone with a diesel motorcycle. It is rare. So that's one of the reasons. But then the diesel engine is robust and it lasts much longer. However, the petrol one, when it's well maintained, it also lasts as long as the diesel can last. It's all about the what? The operations, of which from whoever service provider you've bought from, specifically at Davis and Shatcliffe, we carry out a training. When you buy these engines, we do the testing, we do the training for you to be able to maintain that pump in the right form, because at the end of it all, you're expecting warranty. If you go and use it in a wrong way, you'll come back with it and tell us, this engine is not pushing water to 800 meters like you told me. It is supposed to give me 7.2 bars of pressure, but it is not even running a small sprinkler. So we teach you how to do all these. So what you're seeing there on the screen is a sprinkler stand. If you've walked around from our different fellow suppliers, even on our tent, you've seen a sprinkler stand with a sprinkler on top. So you know how to assemble one. And on that stand, we attach a rain gun. A rain gun is a sprinkler that they are in different sizes, that will project water to different lengths or radius. They do different lengths, and they also have different flows and pressure ratings. So in this case, 1 acre irrigation kit. When we talk about 1 acre, we usually, when you come to buy an irrigation system, we assume a 1 acre is like 100 by 40 meters. So when you come to me, I'll ask you, what is the distance from the water source to your 1 acre or 2 acres or half an acre? So by you telling me that, it is easy for me to determine how big the pump should be, how much length of pipe you will need, and other fittings that come along with that. So that is after asking you what water source you have, of which in this case we said we assume it is a surface water. It can be a dam or a river. So, for example, a 1 acre kit on our side goes for about 1 acre stroke 2 acre kit goes for about 2.1 million. So when you look at 2.1 million, there is an example I always like using when you do irrigation. Moderator, do you have a marker? I would want to just demonstrate.
Yeah, we do. There's a marker, there's a flip chart you can do. And like he has just mentioned, in other words, don't just go and buy an irrigation kit and take home. It is important you get some information right. He has just mentioned that it is important as an expert or whoever you're buying the irrigation kit from explains to you certain basics. Like if your water source is maybe a small river, how far is it from the river to where your garden is? It will tell you, they will be able now to use that to advise you on which even pump you need, the length of the pipe you need for getting water down from that small river to your garden, and so many other things. Please.
Okay. So in sprinkler irrigation, usually these sprinklers require a certain amount of pressure. And in most cases, you realize when we are using these rain guns, we shall use high pressure pumps. High pressure pumps. Yes. Yeah. You call them generators sometimes.
Exactly.
The generator pump. They are characterized by having 3 outlets. I think you've seen a difference between the two usually. There are some with 1 outlet, others with 3 outlets. You've seen those? The ones with 3 outlets usually are high pressure pumps. And the way we determine pressure is, why we ask about the pressure is because we need to know the sprinkler we are giving you, what pressure does it require in order to give you the radius. If they say this sprinkler can spray water up to 30 meters, what pressure do you need to achieve that? So that's why we choose a pump, either to be high pressure or low pressure. But in this case, when we are using sprinklers, we mainly use high pressure pumps. These pumps, they are both in petrol and diesel. And for example, in the 1/2 acre kit, we come with the high pressure pump. It's a petrol pump. It needs a suction pipe. A suction pipe is the transparent, it is usually short, transparent with a steel ring inside it. That is the one that sucks water from the stream or the river to the pump. So if this is the stream, we have a suction pipe, and then we have a pump. So this pipe usually, most pumps, almost all pumps, they have a maximum suction depth of about 8 meters and less. So some will give you 5 meters, others can give you 7 or 8, depending on what, depending on how far your water source. For example, if that's the river, the gradient, how steep is it, and how long would your suction pipe be? And then from here, if this is our garden, we have the delivery pipe. I'll ask Swithin to get me a delivery pipe from our tent so that you have a look at how it looks like. So for example, in 1 acre, I would assume 100 by 40. If this is 100 and this is 40, and the distance from the water source here, from the pump, this is about maybe 30 meters. So this is 100. It means we shall need maybe a maximum of only 2 rolls of pipe within the what? Within the garden. But then we have this extra, so that makes it 3. Are we following it? Yes, so these pipes are interconnected for you can raise it up, so thank you. So this is an example of a delivery hose. This is 3 inch size. You can see it's a bit bigger. This 100 by 40. We have 30 meters. That's 1 roll. And in here, I said we can have a maximum of 60 meters. So the question may be, if the 60 meters stop here, why are they not reaching this side? But remember, our sprinkler has a jet that it does, which would cover this distance. Okay? So these pipes are interconnected using hose connectors and clips. Some farmers prefer to use rubbers to tie together, and they are connected to this stand. So this stand is the one that has the sprinkler on it. There are fittings attached below it to make sure you're able to tie the pipe on it, in order for this water that comes from the pump to the stand to be able to rise through this riser pipe that you're seeing here, so that they come out from the what? From the sprinkler. If you use a pump not of a given pressure, you will not be able to achieve to run that sprinkler, because it requires high pressure. Most of them range from 4 bars up to even 8, the pressure that they require, the sprinklers. So most pumps you see with one outlet, some can be high pressure, but it is a rare case. Most of them give lower pressure, and for that case, you find that these pumps with 3 outlets are a bit more priced, but they can do a bigger job. For example, you have 1 acre here, but maybe you have the 4 acres that you would want to explore in future. But for now, maybe the capital you have is to cater for this 1 acre. It means for these pumps on a relatively flat land, these pumps a 7-bar pump can be able to push water even up to 800 meters. You know what that means? It means you have more like 5 acres that you can add. It's just a matter of adding what? The pipe. So you have room for expanding. So this is why I would advise you to procure a high pressure pump for the start. As long as you know you have a goal to do what? To expand. Because you will realize the difference between this pump and the low pressure pump is not that much. It's not even half the price of this. It's less. So I'd advise from experience that you buy a high pressure pump, because it will help you to do so many things. You want to push water to a further distance and expand your land. This could help out. So when we put this sprinkler here, it will finish off this, and then you can keep moving these pipes because they are flexible to cover different parts of the garden. In 1 acre, you can move the stand about 3 to 4 times in order to cover it all, and that can be within less than an hour, and you're done with 1 acre. So that is about sprinkler irrigation. We also have different types of sprinkler irrigation.
In other words, we are still talking about just one type of giving water to the plants. Sprinkler means to sprinkle, like there are just pipes that come and stand above the ground, and then they be rotating as they they sprinkle water, like in the garden. So we're just talking about that, but there is even more to come. But one important thing he mentioned was where is your garden, and what is the distance between your garden and where you're getting water from, if it is a river. He also mentioned something like relatively flat. In other words, also, is your garden, is your land a little bit flat, or is it very steep, right? So it is very important that when you're getting these things, you get from the experts like him, right?
Yes.
Please.
Always don't shy away to mention how the gradient of your land is, because most of these service providers will think for you. They will say, okay, maybe this person's land is flat, when in actual sense it's not. Maybe it's a hill, and you'll have issues with erosion. They need to give you the right irrigation system that you should use that will not affect your crops in return.
Exactly. In other words, don't just buy pump and take home. Explain certain things about where your garden is, where your water source is, how steep is it, a flat land, is it, yeah, please.
Yes, so make sure when you go to buy an irrigation system, if someone doesn't ask you what crop you are growing, the distance of the water source, then you need to doubt what they are trying to give you as a solution, because different crops you wouldn't come to my office and I tell you you're growing paddy rice and I tell you go and get a sprinkler. It wouldn't work like that. We all know paddy rice is all about flooding. You flood the land and then the rice, unless it's upland rice. So I need to ask you what crop you're growing so that I be able to give you the right irrigation method. You can go to the next slide, sir.
In other words, the type of irrigation you choose should also match with the need. Are you growing cabbage? Or let's say, are you growing maybe onions? Are you doing sugarcane? Such that you get the right system. That is exactly what he's trying to say.
Yes.
Please.
So from that, what have we learned? We have learned that when you have land and let's say you're bordering a water source, it will not make sense for you to go and take it very far. Huh? Do you know what that will be? That will mean you will need to buy more pipes, which means more expense. If you have a chance and you can, of course there are already standards, how the distance that you're advised to live from any water body to where you start growing. You can think of that. If it is your land, it's better you start from there. You know you will input little than someone who is taking very far, maybe because, of course, for some reasons you may find that's where you can monitor your crops very well, or the garden is closer to you and you can easily carry out different operations. Anyway, moving forward, this is another type of sprinkler irrigation. It is micro sprinkler irrigation. This is usually a combination of very many small sprinklers that are connected together to also serve the same purpose like the previous rain gun that we saw. So you realize, I don't know whether that picture is clear to most of you. There is a pipe running below the ground, and we have small riser pipes coming up, and on those riser pipes we have small sprinklers connected of a given radius. So when we are sizing for these systems, we usually prefer to run them direct on a pump. With the gravity water, you may not, when I talk about gravity is when you have a tank raised on a stand and water is just flowing by gravity. You may not achieve enough pressures to give you a uniform coverage. So when you pump direct, when we are sizing, we always ensure like 90% coverage. So from one sprinkler, when they are, let's say this is a line and this is a sprinkler. So when we are sizing, we make sure this sprinkler will throw to where this one stops, to where this one is, and then this one will also throw here. So by doing this, we have 100% coverage, which will make sure that all your crops grow uniformly. If we do contrary to that and put here, let's say this sprinkler throws up to here, and then you size that this one should throw up to here, by all means, this area will not be as uniform as the other one. So we always make sure when they are sizing for you these systems, someone ensures a 90 or 100% coverage. Yeah, so these are micro sprinklers. This may not be a very suitable system for a subsistence farmer. It may not be as cheap as the other one, the first one, the rain gun, because the other one is just a single unit, and this will require you to get pipes. But it's something you can think about as you grow. Of course, when you start with the other one, your dream can be that, because the advantage with this is that you have less operations. Let's say in terms of labor, you will not need someone to go and roll a pipe, unroll it, so it's a permanent system in your garden. Go to the next. So I know most of you have seen something like this with firefighters. This is called a spray nozzle. So now this is where we go back to the low pressure pumps. So the low pressure pumps can be okay with something like this. They can give you enough pressure to use something like that. It is not the best, but at least it will be better than someone who is not doing irrigation at all. So this is a spray nozzle. It is just like the way the other irrigation system is the sprinkler one, but in this case the pipe is attached to the irrigation nozzle, not the stand. It can also work with the high pressure, but then for the low pressure, someone has low budget and they want to use something of a low budget, they can do a low pressure pump and attach something like that. Before we go into agriculture economics, we have small-scale irrigation systems. These are some of them. We have the engine-powered sprinkler kits, which we just talked about. the solar-powered drag hose. Some people usually have solar pumps, small surface solar pumps. You've seen some at Sun Culture. We also have some there. And we have drip irrigation systems. They can also be done on a quarter an acre, half an acre, 1 acre, or even up to 4 acres, like you'll be seeing. Then we have portable micro sprinkler kits, and then the rain hose sprays. This is one of the latest methods of irrigation that is a cheaper way compared to drip. This is slowly trying to replace, because it's a bit cheaper compared to drip. We can go to the next slide. So these are the types of sprinklers. We have the plastic sprinkler up there. Some are PVC. And then we have the aluminum sprinkler. And we have the small sprinklers. Usually these are of different advantages. You may ask me, why should I buy the PVC one to the aluminum one? For starters, this and that may do the same work, but of course the quality matters. Even at Davis, we have both. For example, at Davis, the black one goes for about 70,000, and the aluminum goes for 200. The difference is simple. This is metallic, and by accident, the stand may fail, and the PVC will easily break, but this will not. So when you're looking at what you're buying, you need to know how long it's going to last for you. But some people will say, okay, me, I'll buy 2 of those ones at 140 and not buy one. So that when the other one breaks, I'll replace with this. That is another method, and you understand them like that. Yes, so we always give different options depending on people's budgets. Can go to the next slide. So we have drip irrigation systems. I think most of you have seen drip irrigation systems. These are some of the farms we've worked on. Drip does well in horticulture. Someone may do onions, someone may do cabbages. They even do in plantations like banana and coffee, cocoa, people doing plantation farming. Like you can see, actually of all irrigation methods, drip irrigation is the most effective of all because it broadcasts water direct to the root zone. I'm going to give you, what you're seeing on the right is a farm in Pabo. We did about 4 acres of irrigation of drip. This is a client that came to me. She had bought about 100 acres. 100 acres, and she wanted to do macadamia. But she's not someone who stays there, and she asked me, what crop can I grow to make sure I run my farm, to make sure it runs the farm without me touching on my salary from wherever I'm earning. Of course, I have friends who are agronomists, and from experience from the people who have already supplied, you can easily pass the knowledge to the next. So I told her, why don't you do onions? Because the mathematics for onions is that simple. For starters, the reason we do irrigation is to make sure we be able to get bumper harvests. Do you all realize that? When we plant during the dry season, when we are harvesting, if the price of whatever you grew cannot be the same, the price of something you grew during the dry season, the harvest, cannot be the same like there's something that you grew during the rainy season. The reason is because during the rainy season, not everyone does irrigation. Everyone will have planted. So the produce is much. So, of course, the supply is more than the demand. So the price will be low. But when you do during the dry season, you are a few that have planted and people are running for your produce. So you determine the price. Or even if the market tries to dictate the price, you have a say because you will know there is demand still. So I told this woman, just get 4 acres from your garden and just do drip for onions. Lucky enough, for drip systems, the most expensive part is usually with the tank and its stand. This is for the start. But remember, these are things that are going to be there permanently. So the economics here is in 1 acre, of onions, if you've done all the agronomic practices right, applied your right fertilizers, and you're doing the right irrigation system like drip, you will be able to harvest. Sorry, okay, yeah, you can turn over. You should be able to harvest a minimum of at least 8 tons. 8 tons is 8,000 kilograms. I think this may be more understandable. 8,000 kilograms when you plant in November and you go through that dry season doing irrigation, and you get, okay, I always like putting things to the worst. Let's say things have failed and you've done 6 tons. 6 tons, how many of us are onion farmers here who have planted some onions? Yes, sir. How much does a kilo of onions usually go for between March and May? Okay.
In Paida, we sell in buffs.
In buffs.
Yes.
So a buff can have like how many kilograms? You may not be aware. Okay, how much do you sell a buff?
We sell a buff from 60,000 to 80,000.
Yes. That is a buff. Is it a basin? Okay. So a basin. So I anticipate a basin can have about, because from experience, what I know, of course, market, sorry? 25 kilograms. Yo, so 15. So 15 divide it by 80. Just help me do some math. 15 divide it by 80. Oh, 60. You say you sell sometimes 60, sometimes 80. Okay, you do 60. 80 divided by 60. It's 8. That's 8,000. That would be overpriced. 80,000 divided by 15. 5,000. Correct. Because usually on local market, they go between 4,500 to 5,000. And if you take to places like Nimule, where this woman sold, because she's near, Omoro is just bordering, she was selling at 6,500. Do you know what that means? Let's say you've not got 4,500, you've got 4,000. Get for me 4,000 and multiply by 8,000. 8,000 kilograms. You do 6,000. Do 6,000 because we said, let's say things have failed and you get 6,000. 25. That's 24 million from an acre of onions. But she did 4. So that's 24 times what? Times 4. The lady is in over 90 million. 96 million. If she maybe, even if, because remember this was, I'm going to tell you about what she invested. She already had her tanks, fortunately. We supplied the irrigation equipment. She already had her plumbers. We only supplied the fittings for drip irrigation, the drip lines, and other filters. It was about 35 million. Or let's say everything costed her, let's say 70 or 50 million. These are drip lines that are going to be in this field for the next 5 years because they are UV treated. In 5 years, how many seasons are you going to have? There are very many seasons. You will only replace these drip lines. So it means the next season, this was her first harvest, and she was so transparent enough to tell me that, okay, this is now going to work for me. So the next season, just recently has been her 3rd season. The next season, she actually did better because the other one was a virgin land. She got up to 9 tons. That is almost adding half of what she would have got to that. So you realize that now she's getting over 90% profit because she has not invested in the tank stands. She already had them. She has the drip system already in place. So the only thing she invested in is the fertilizer and maybe the seeds for putting in the seed in the nursery. which cannot even be, in my own understanding, not even 30 million for just 4 acres. So for you may not need to do the 4. You may not have capacity to do the 4. You can decide to do 1, focus on it, and get 8 tons. 24 million is not bad. 24 million in this case for you, you're not doing drip. You can even decide to do sprinkler. The first one we did. It's not the best, but it may be the one you can afford. You may not get 8 tons, but you will get 6 or 5. If you sell at 4, you will also get, actually, if you get 5, you'll get over 20 million. You've bought this system of 1 acre. It is just at 2.1 million. After 4 months, I think that profit is not bad. So maybe these are some of the things we can think about doing. So this is where we say you need to know about how much you're investing in your irrigation system and get to know the market. When you get to know what the market wants, because by the time she was planting this macadamia, she told me, someone had told her she can be able to export it somewhere. And then for the onions, now as I talk, this lady has expanded her onion farm to 10 acres because she realized it is bringing in much more money. Now, by the time she realizes her macadamia plan is now working the first time, because these are crops that take over 3 years for you to start harvesting a serious harvest, she will be having value for the land she bought. Yeah, so that was a by the way. I was just giving you some agriculture economics. Can go to the next slide. 35, okay. That image is not very clear. I was trying to show you about the rain hose systems. The rain hose systems, it is a long pipe, collapsible pipe like the delivery pipe they brought, but it is usually PVC in nature. It has small perforated holes. So when you subject it to some pressure with water, the water comes out in form of rains, like you see. So in this case, like when you're doing onions, you can do a bed of 1 meter. You put 4 lines of drip lines. So it means in 4 lines of drip lines, you have 8 lines of onions, because onions are planted side by side. If this is a bed, this is your garden. These are beds of 1 meter. So you have lines of drip lines. So you plant onions side by side. So it means if you have 4 lines, you have 8 lines of onions. So in this case, for these pipes, we don't put them here. We put them in the ridges here. So it is a pipe with holes on it. So it comes out in form of rain to either side. So it is calibrated to cover a certain distance. So depending on what size you have bought, you can be able to know the size of beds you're going to do. This is cheaper in a way that you're not having very many, and they come in rows of 200, 100, and you realize if a half acre system of drip is costing you about let's say 16 million, this will cost you almost half of that. So this could be another option you should explore. It's a new technology. Most people haven't learned much about it, but it's something you need to also explore. You can always consult from us. We'll always give you you can go to the next slide. So we also carry out farmer group trainings. This was an image I just put to, you can always organize yourselves, have farmer groups maybe in your parish or in your villages or in your town councils, and you can call us. We can carry out training sessions for free. We don't charge to train you how to use agriculture, because in the how to use irrigation systems, because in the end, when you learn this, you'll have the urge to buy the systems. You never know, you may buy from us or someone else. Okay. Yeah. So hands-on experiment. Next slide. We have organics too. I wanted to tell you about organics. Do we still have more time? Yeah, we still have, so you can go to the next. So organics, these are some of the new products we are venturing into as Davis. So we have This side are the products, and on the other side is what they do. We have absorber. This is majorly a water retainer for long duration crops. It reduces watering frequency for irrigated crops. It also reduces leaching due to heavy rains and improves soil aeration. It also improves, it increases crop yield. So when you're irrigating, this absorber can help you to reduce the watering frequency. If you've been doing 2 times a day, you can be doing 1. We have Achuk. This is these ones come in liters and kilograms. These are certified organic farming fertilizers. These are they are effective against nematodes. The Achuk, this is a nematocide. It can also be an insecticide. It's effective against nematodes and insects. Then we have Acidi. This is an organic soil conditioner. It is also certified for organic farming. It builds soil structure and also improves on the water holding capacity of the soil. Then increases aeration and improves nutrient availability to the crop. Then we have A3. This is an organic humet powder. It's an alternative for animal manure, or what you can call farmyard manure. It is it also increases nutrient transfer from soil to plants. It also encourages microbial activities within the soil. So we have 2 types of enhance. One is an organic seaweed extract, and another one is just a seed treatment. The organic seaweed extract, its use is to reduce the transplanting shock. Maybe you've picked the seedlings from the nursery to the seed bed, or what you can call the garden. It reduces on the transplanting shock and also enhances root development for the crop to grow when it's in a very good condition. Then the seed treatment majorly just improves and reduces seed dormancy, and it increases crop yields. So this is one of our new lines at Davis, so maybe you can always come and also consult about that. You can go to the next slide, sir. Yeah, this is a typical demo of a drip irrigation system. Some of you have never seen. This is how drip irrigation system looks like. This is one of our model farms in Nairobi. Can go to the next slide, just for consumption. Next, they saw this already. So this is it. It's the same, the drip irrigation system we were talking about. Next. So you may be interested in doing large-scale irrigation, or you have a friend interested. This is how it is. The slides are done. Really? I'd put some pictures. Okay, it's okay. I'll just proceed from there. So with the large-scale irrigation systems, we have the center pivot systems. We have the traveling guns. Yes. Yeah. So this is a traveling gun. So this is a type of a sprinkler, but it is for large scale. It is big in a way that it is self-propelled. It is on wheels and it can be towed on a tractor. These sprinklers are massive in a way that they can do radiuses ranging from 30 to 50 meters. So from here to where it throws the water is about 50, and it rotates 360. That means it can do a radius of about 100 meters. So these are usually applied in large scale. We've done one at Jessa Farm. If you've been there, you've seen one. We are also planning to give them another. So these are for your knowledge expansion. This is how a typical traveling gun looks like. You may also venture into that in future. Yeah, next. Yeah, away from that, this is just another. These are pop-up sprinklers for people who watch football. This is another type of irrigation, irrigating your compound, your lawns. It can be now for people who do. You can first go back to the previous slide. Yes, for people who are into livestock, I talked about Jessa Farm. We all know those guys are into majorly dairy. So they use these to irrigate their fodder. So that fodder, when they irrigate it during the dry season, it means they can be able to harvest hay which they can sell or give to their cows. So irrigation does not only stop to horticulture farmers, even the people doing livestock farming can also venture into irrigation. You can have pastures and irrigate them and be able to feed your cows on fresh grass all year round. Huh?
Yeah, yesterday, you remember we talked about goat farming, and one of the things that we saw here was that you can plant actually your pastures or grasses, right? So if you want to keep them fresh and green, you can keep on irrigating them. That's exactly what he's trying to say.
I want to rush through so that I leave some time for reactions. I think this is it. I'll be very happy to receive questions. Feel free to ask anything. One common question that I would want to first go for before they even ask about it is, most people have always asked, our extension officers always advise us, you irrigate either early in the morning or late in the evening, of which late in the evening is always a better option. The reason is because the crops get time to heal throughout the whole night, and then they get ready for the next day. So someone asked me, not one, not two. So if I have a solar pump, it is sun powered. How am I supposed to irrigate early morning at 6 before the sun comes out? That's a very common question, and it's a very good question. And most people, usually for solar powered irrigation systems, that's where they apply for things like, for systems like drip. You find you are pumping using either a pump, a borehole pump, or a surface solar pump. So you pumped an overhead tank so that you can irrigate at that designated time that is suitable for irrigation. I wouldn't advise you to get up with your solar pump at this time. You go to the garden and start irrigating your cabbages. Then at the end of the day, they will get scorched, and you will say, they gave me a bad seed. Yeah. So I am welcoming all the questions. Feel free.
Yes, but before the questions, there are certain things that I wanted to do a recap on. One, before you buy a pump, know if it is crop, what are you planting? Because he said different irrigation systems are suitable probably for different crops, right? He also talked about the fact that which water source and how big is it, and also what is the distance between, if it is a river. When we're talking about water sources, I'm just mean the river, if it is a swamp or any shallow well, what is the distance from that water source to your garden, right? Because it will help you it will help them to determine the piping and all those kind of things. Then also how the elevation of your garden. Is it a flat kind of garden, or are you getting water from deep? I mean, a very steep, kind of, you're trying to do uphill. Like, for instance, in Zombo areas, you find they are around valleys. The land is not flat. So those kind of questions you need to ask them. I mean, you need to give them such kind of information such that they can use that to determine which particular system is best for you, right? In other words, he also mentioned something that if you go to buy something from someone and they're not asking you those kind of questions, then chances are you're not in the right place. So it is time now we get the questions. 1, 2, 3. I just want 5, 4. Okay, let me start from here. 1. So this one was 2. The third one is
Andavati Valerian, high pressure sprinkler irrigation, 1 or 2 acre kit. I hope I'm right. I have 2 questions. You see, before I ask, some of us rent fields. We don't have fields near water sources. Is this kit portable? That's question 1. 2, you said this one can take only 1 hour to irrigate an acre. How within the 1 hour, how is the fuel consumption, especially the petrol one? Thank you so much.
So he wants to know about the portability of the pump and then the consumption rate, because we are talking at we are looking at farming as a business, right? I like the question. Maybe you can answer that and then I pick the next one. Or you're going to note them? There is a pen and a sticky note.
Or I note. What is better? I can note them down.
Then you answer.
Let me answer
The
at
farmers are
once.
saying you answer.
Okay,
Yes, please.
Yeah. So if you're renting the land, first of all, these systems are portable. The reason is because they are flexible pipes. The reason the pipes are flexible is because you can run and go and keep them at your home. So you can carry this pump. You can even be able to rent it to a friend or assist. So that is one. And then these pumps consume at maximum capacity, they consume 1.1 liters, the high pressure pumps, 1.1 liters per hour. And they also intake half a liter of engine oil, which you change after 50 hours of using. The 50 hours of using can be that 1 hour you have run, then there may be the next day you have given it to a friend, he has also used for 30 minutes. So you keep noting those hours down until they tally at 50, you know it is the time to service or change the oil. From whoever you buy the pump from, they should be able to teach you that. They should be able to tell you what type of oil to use, and they should be able to tell you when to change it and how to change it.
I think that answers your question well. The other question was with this gentleman here.
Yes. My name is Cornblaze Babu Morgan Bon. I live within Arua City, but I do my farming at the jungles of Customs. I've got simple questions. One of them is, how much does it cost in case you are to access large-scale irrigation system in terms of finance? One. The second question is, which month of dry season does this lady plant her onions? And most of the rivers we have, actually we have river Nyao, and in case one is to do his or her farming around river Nyao, taking that the river is always dirty. How do you protect it from the dirty particles of the trees and other rubs entering the pump in case you is to use high pressure pump? Thanks.
Okay, that's a very good question. I'll start it from the end. I'll start with how you can protect this pump. This pump comes with very many mechanisms. When it's supplied to you, the supplier may quote for you a foot valve. A foot valve is it is like a filter which is attached to the other suction pipe, the pipe which sucks water from the river. It has something like to stay down. If you cannot afford to buy the foot valve, there is a foot valve that comes within the pump itself in the box. It may tend to have some big holes. So we always advise like a farmer to tie a wire mesh or a net of a smaller size. So that is a way you can protect the impedance of the pump from getting clogged with, because it is true that if these things enter in the pump, they will indeed spoil it, or they will go all the way up to the sprinkler and block the nozzles. Yes. Then the other question was how one can do, what it takes for one to do commercial farming. Well, in my own opinion, commercial farming is, Yes, large scale. Okay, large scale irrigation from small scale. This is not something I would advise one to just bump into. Not come from 1 acre of cabbage and then you want all of a sudden do 30 acres. Maybe it's a gradual process. You can keep expanding as you learn, because the problems you face operating 1 acre are really different from the problems you will face doing 10 acres, and you will have to be financially ready for them. The pricing may differ depending on what one is planting. Someone doing cocoa on large scale is I would majorly talk about the system, the irrigation system. Most tree crops, cocoa, banana, coffee, they their irrigation systems are usually almost the same because they are widely spaced. So in this case, we don't use drip lines. We use a blank tube whereby we attach an emitter exactly on the crop where it is. So in this case, by the way, you usually find that 4 acres of coffee would need less water compared to an acre of onions. The reason is simple, because for the onions, the drip lines are spaced at maybe 30 centimeters, but a coffee is spaced at 3 by 3 or 2 by 2. So it means there is not too much water that is being broadcasted to the crop. Of course, for the emitters, for the onions, you may find the emitter is giving maybe 1.2 liters per hour, and the one for coffee, one emitter is giving maybe 8 liters per hour, but the other ones are many and these are few. Yes, so I am sorry, I may not give you the cost of what it would take to do commercial, but what I know is it's always a gradual process.
In other words, what he's trying to say, like we mentioned before, it is hard sometimes to give exact figure. It depends on what you're doing. And all these other considerations he was talking about, that's where now sometimes they even need to go up to your garden, right, to assess and understand what you actually want to do, and what are those parameters, like what are those specific costs that will add up to the bigger cost. Yeah, so what you do, if you want to do commercial farming, maybe for onion, you may incur a different amount of money. If you want to do commercial farming, if it is, let's say, for, like he was mentioning, the cocoa and the rest, different system, maybe different amount of money for acquiring the kit and all the others. So I think it is very important, maybe after here, you go to his tent or any other suppliers of irrigation systems, and then they can explain. You go step by step to understand exactly what you want to do. And then you talked about maybe if the water is dirty, he has just been explaining certain things, like that pipe you dip in water, there are certain things that are designed to protect it, right? Like to sieve the water and it is clean by the time it moves through the system. Yeah. About? Oh, like which month?
Okay. I'd forgotten about that.
Does the lady in particular? Oh, maybe which month? I don't know. Does that mean he's trying to ask which month is the best for you to do irrigation in the dry season, or? I think like that.
That's
maybe for that. Maybe mention for the lady.
Okay.
That particular lady is.
Different areas have different climate changes, and for you, from where you come from, when does the dry season start? Where you know that now I have to be ready for this dry season? Which month? Good. That's the same with that side. November, we are in the north. Gulu, they are preparing for the dry season, and it will stretch them up to like Feb, March. So that's when she does her nursery beds before December, during the rains. She's doing her nursery beds. So by the onset of dry season, the seedlings are ready for transplant, and her system is ready. Yes. So before you do your nurseries, you have to make sure you have all the parameters ready. You have your irrigation system ready. You have everything ready to start, because when you have the seedlings that are ready for transplant and you're not ready yet, it means you may end up losing the seedlings, in which you're losing money from the seeds you bought.
I understand there was a question from this other side. I don't know how we are going to do it. Maybe, yes, you will translate.
Thank you so much. That's only having two comments. One, he was asking about the machine issue, that if you have used this machine for a long time and there is a breakdown, is there anything to also to come and pay for you again for the repair of the machine? Yeah, and now he's asking about, because you have been asking about when you dip the machine in dirty water, like is there any provision for that machine whereby it can shift those dirt down to not affect the engine? Thank you.
All right, thank you for that wonderful question. I'll start with the last one. There are some pumps that are designed with big impellers to be able to at least handle some big millimeters of those particles, but then it means you may not be able to run the sprinkler because they will block the sprinkler and the water will not come out the way it should, and the sprinkler will get spoiled, which means you will need to replace it. The first question was about the pump, and usually for different suppliers they have different warranties that come attached to the products they sell. I'll talk about Davis in this case. A pump at Davis, all engine pumps carry a warranty of 12 months. So the reason we carry out training when you have bought the pump is to avoid issues to deal with warranty. Because if we don't train you and you operate the pump in a wrong way, it will get spoiled in even a week or 2 or even a month or even 3 months before the 12th month, and then you will bring it back to me. You say, okay, Mr. Brighton, you gave me a pump. You said it can irrigate 6 acres, but it cannot even push water to run a sprinkler, like we started with this session. What will I do? I will ask you, what did you do wrong? Of course, when you bring to me the pump, I have enough experience to open it, to take it to our workshop. We have a workshop, or we have technicians at different branches, even at the Arua branch. They will check and know that, okay, if they are in the impellers, they find there are very many stones, they will know this person did not put a foot valve because the stones are not manufactured by Davis. Means they have gone there in a wrong way. So we advise you, we don't chase you away, we advise you, if the repair cost is minimal, we can go ahead and repair for you and advise you how to use it in the right way. If it needs you to buy a spare, we have the spares. We advise you, and then of course when you're doing those replacements for those spares, you will get discounts because you've bought the pump from us after all. And mistakes are common. People can do mistakes all the time.
In other words, what he's trying to say is that when you procure the pump, make sure you understand how to operate it, right? Because however good the pump is, however much they tell you it is 12-month warranty, you can even break it tomorrow. If maybe you leave kids to go and run it, things like that. So understand, like he was mentioning things about fuel, he was mentioning things about engine oil. Those are the basics that are very important. If you let the engine oil maybe to burn, and it will shock the pump and you won't like it. So they offer trainings, not only them but also the others who offer the same services. They make sure they make you understand how to operate and run these pumps without having challenges. There was a question this other side. I don't want a new hand. I want us to be honest. I think around here there was a question, but if not, let me go this other side. Gentlemen, I don't think you raised the hand before. Sorry. What is the question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Davis and Sutcliffe. We have learned a lot about the various systems of irrigation. My concern is, take for instance a local farmer who grows vegetables during the dry spell, maybe by watering them, getting water from water source and then watering it like that. These different irrigation systems, I know most of us have not practiced it, and we are preparing to do it because it involves maybe preparing yourself financially. You need some capital to start. So my question is there no another simpler way of taking water to your crops? In other words, maybe watering or irrigating, like as I said, a simple man who grows vegetables just for consumption Is there no other way apart from these systems you have mentioned? Thank you. I'm called Robert. That's from Arua City.
So, like, apart from the pumps, apart from the sprinklers, apart from all those you've mentioned, is there what we can do within our means to get water to where we want it? Please.
It's a very tough question, to be honest. That's not the toughest, because recently I was at a same gathering like this, and someone asked me, I don't have any water at my garden. How can I irrigate? And it was really funny moment, but you had to understand, because you cannot do irrigation without water, first of all. But in this case, he has the water, but he wants the easiest way to pull it to his garden. In ancient ways, most people would divert a river and maybe get channels and take to their garden by doing gully irrigation on the surface irrigation, whereby now in between the beds you have furrows, and the water comes, flows to different furrows, and then seeps through the what? The beds. That could be a cheaper way, but then it may also be expensive in terms of energy, because you will have to spend a lot of time digging. Let's say the river is 30 meters away from you, or a stream. It means you need to dig for 30 meters to your garden, and then you branch the water to different ways. So in this case, to be honest, as you go to buy these irrigation systems, the solar ones, don't go with the mind that they are cheap. The solar ones are expensive for a reason, because you are not having operational costs, what we talked about in the first place. You're just using the energy from the sun. But for the petrol ones, you're putting fuel at the end of the day. We said in an hour it consumes 1.1 liters. So that is money. Fuel is money. So as you do your irrigation, you have to have a book and write how much fuel am I going to consume in this season. If it is 20 liters of fuel, how much is it going to cost? Am I going to buy it all at once? Or so you note all that down and get to know what it costs. But in this case, the cheapest way could be you getting an engine pump. It may look expensive in the way that you're putting fuel, but this is a pump you can even get at maybe 500. Different suppliers have different prices. It may not be a high pressure pump, but even the low pressure pump can push water to maybe 200 meters, and you can use the nozzle. So if we can do some simple math, if you get a pump at 550, you get maybe 60 meters of pipe at 300, that is 800. Then you get connectors all with the nozzle. Maybe in 1 million, you can also try to experiment your irrigation. But I think that could be the cheaper way, because even when you're to hire people to dig for you those trenches, you may find it is almost the same price, like doing that. I think this man has something to submit towards your question. Maybe he can give something.
Yeah, I think he has some suggestions. Okay, someone was talking about how can I just get water. I think that is one way he was trying to explain. Maybe if this is this is a river, you can create some channels and the water gets into your garden. Also,
But
another way, but
flooding.
we're looking at, he was talking of an acre and stuff. So some of these methods may be hard to do it on an acre. Another way, watering cans. You go and get the water, use water on the crops, right? So those are, yes, those are the means. But I think Mr. Habib has something also to add on. Yes.
I don't know if it's afternoon or good morning.
Afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Irrigation, the mistake we all make when you hear irrigation, everyone thinks of equipment. Irrigation does not only stop at equipment. It is merely application of water to the plant. Merely application of water to the plant. How? If I got a watering can, I moved through my garden and I watered plant to plant, I've irrigated. Now, what my brother had it added on, actually one of their products, they have a manual pump. If partly, as we move through here, there are very many companies, you'll find there are companies that deal in specifically manual pumps. They are quite cheaper, though more labor intensive. So for you to cover that rate of the figure is high, I want something cheaper, you're going to pay for it by using labor somehow.
Yes.
So as you move around, I would request, you will see them. There are quite many manual pumps around.
True.
So as we move around, kindly.
There is a brother from Kickstart.
Yes, there are
Yeah,
quite many because there's Kickstart, there's Akvo, there are many.
Oh, there are very many.
So as we move around, kindly, you will get to see, you ask these questions.
You may not put fuel, but you need
But
to
you'll
eat some
still,
food.
you'll still incur some bit of labor.
Yeah. Thank you,
Uh,
Habib.
Oh, yes. And also there are also other types of pumps, like you were talking about solar water pumps. There are other type of pumps which they are like briefcases. If you move around the stalls of the Tulima, the Sun Culture, you see them. You can go and place it, you pump to your garden, but you'll have to be moving to every line trying to sprinkle. You understand? They are called the Kilimo Kranza, the Kilimo Bora. You'll see them all there. This is to give you a snap, like a highlight of the whole irrigation as a thing in agriculture. But like we said, the exhibitors are here to show you, to give you more detailed explanation on each. They are one of them. There are also others, the Sun Culture, the Tulima, the Akvo, so many. Yes, but let me.
There any other?
I'm seeing again 2 hands have erupted.
We can close out with those.
Let's get those 2 hands and then we close up.
Thank you. I'm Lubari Alfred from Yumbe, Yoyo refugee camp. I heard about the problem regarding where there is no water, and you are talking about diverting the river. Maybe the landscape is not all that good for diverting the river, especially your land might be high and the river is down. It is not easy to divert the river or stream. But there is also another alternative, like when you have the ability to dig a well, you can dig a well and install this solar pump. Then from there, automatically you can access. Because all people do not have rivers near their places. Some people are distant away from the river. But if you are able, then you dig that well and call for those specialists. They install for you that solar pump, that solar system, and then you can be able to access water and begin irrigating. And that one is better. Why? Because it is going to take long. You can still continue for years just using it. So at your own place, that is when the place is yours. Because if it is somebody's place you hire to this year, next year, you may be away and you may not get what you are intending to get. So my question here is, you talked about those water pumps, the high pressure water pumps and the low pressure ones. But you did not tell us about how much they cost. So we don't know. So that we plan whether to get the high pressure pump or low pressure pumps. We need to know how much they cost. Thank you.
I think I don't know. You can answer, but I think the question of cost, like we said, maybe we may need to go to the, for instance, Davis and Shutlifts is just here. Are you seeing there? So anything, cost and the rest, and any other more questions or trying to understand, it is better to go to the stall. But Phil,
okay. Thank you, Fred, for your compliment about how to apply water. This is something extreme. We are not actually trying to advise this. The NEMA may not even advise you to do this, because when it rains, your field may actually flood and you may cause a disaster to your neighbors. This is not a very good method. We were just trying to show that could be a method, but that's the reason we are trying to find better mechanisms to do irrigation without harming the environment. Yes, and for the shallow well, it is very good. It is a very good thing for people, because not everyone has surface water, and by exploring the aquifers and dig, of course it's not something cheap, but it's at least something that will avail water to you. by digging a shallow well or digging a borehole, drilling a borehole. That could be another something. Then for the pumps, maybe I can tell you about Davis and Shattif because that's where I work. We sell high pressure pump at 1.1 million, and the low pressure pumps range from 700 to around 560. So maybe you can also try to find out from our colleagues how much they sell, but that's it for Davis.
Yes.
Okay. Call me James Salah from Yumbe, Ramogi sub-county in the refugee camp, Zone 1, Village 13. I just want to know from you, as you have this irrigation system, as you have mentioned the price here, and then I also like to know from you, like I don't have that money, but